Welcome to I'd Podcast That, your weekly no-nonsense actionable guidance to get your podcast off the ground or to the next level. And now to your host, Brian Colburn.
Welcome to another episode of I'd Podcast That. This is Brian, your host. Today we are going to be discussing quality of product. When I say product, I'm not talking about just your podcast. I'm talking about everything that has to do with your brand. If it has your name on it, if it has your logo on it, that's what I'm talking about. So what are some of the things that we can consider your product? Obviously, your podcast, the quality of your show, the audio, the editing, the intro, the outro. The quality of that is very, very important because it's the main piece in your product family. So we obviously want to make sure that this is the best it can be. Now, if you've tasked yourself with learning how to edit and you're editing yourself, obviously things are going to get better over time as you learn and gain more confidence with whatever software editing tool you're using. So scheduling that improvement is okay. Things are going to get better over time. That's natural. That's normal. You don't have to come out of the gate at 110%. In addition to your podcast, what other things do you think might be part of this product family? In addition to your podcast being part of your product family, a blog post. If you're running a website to help get the message of your show out or utilizing it as a hub to get your listeners to come to gain other information or have the opportunity to subscribe to a sales funnel, then that website is part of that product family. So you want to make sure it's up to date, it's accurate, spelling, grammar, and I'm horrible at it. My wife's always correcting me and giving me suggestions to make things better. I don't quite understand that, and I'll go through and rework it. So the quality of everything that has to do with your website is very, very important. Images. Let me give you an example outside of podcasting. I'm sure I've mentioned before, but I do sales for a few companies and it's wholesale. So potential dealers will reach out and want to sell retail, the products I sell to them wholesale. And I vet them. I get their application back. I look at the address of their store. I take a look at their website if they're involved in e-commerce. I take a look at their social media. Is this somebody that I feel I want to have as a customer? Is this somebody I feel is appropriate to represent the brands in which I rep? But those things are all taken into account before I even push the application up. And to be truthful, if it's a no from me, I cross my name off the application, I write house on it, and I send it forward to the company. If they make a different decision than I made, that's on them. But I'm removing myself from that equation. And people are going to do the same thing with your podcast. They might find you on social media. Take a look, come to your website, take a look, maybe listen a little bit before they subscribe. So having a smooth flow from one platform to the other, consistent messaging, consistent colors, these are all things that will help your audience gain trust in you. That's your website, blog posts, that piece of content that's going to house your podcast player. Again, are they formatted consistently? Grammar, spelling, show notes, links. I've seen show notes with broken links in them, and that's just, it's an oversight, but it shows me maybe the level of their commitment to producing a piece of quality content. So these are things that I look for. And look, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. Things slip by me. But when I recognize them, I go back and correct them. I know I make mistakes, so I have a second set of eyes that looks at everything that I produce before it's released. And sometimes things get by the both of us. It's life. It happens. We're human. Find your weaknesses, identify your weaknesses, come up with a solution to help you overcome those weaknesses so your quality of product can improve over time. While we're talking about show notes, what's the quality of your show notes? Is it written in a manner that would entice somebody to click play and invest 20, 30, 40 minutes in your product? Is it attractive? Is it easy to read? These are things you need to think of when you're producing show notes. And to be honest with you, my show notes suck to the point I don't even use them other than a means to gather information that I'm going to copy and paste elsewhere. My blog post consists of my player and the transcripts. And when it comes to transcripts, the show is transcribed word for word, but then we'll go through and do a rough edit and remove and we'll remove 2 of those so it reads a little better. I don't know of many people listening to a podcast and reading along with it. You're typically consuming one or the other, or you consume the audio and you want the written word for reference for a project you're working on. Those are conscious decisions that are made, and you'll make them for your show. But if you decide to present it, do your best to put out the highest quality you can. Images. If you're utilizing images in your blog posts, post banners or imagery to promote your episode, show, website, platform on social media, make sure it's a high quality image. With Canva nowadays, for free on your phone, you can produce Facebook graphics in minutes. And they have a great repository of free, royalty-free images. You can import your own images. I encourage you to learn some of the basics of photography and take your own images as much as possible because it sets you apart. Starting this endeavor, I've used a lot of stock photography, and I see that stock photography everywhere, and I kind of giggle, and I intend on shooting more photography when I'm in a podcasting or studio environment and going back and replacing some of those images so they're not me too. I've got that image too type of picture. And that's one thing I'm particular about. I appreciate good photography. I strive to take great pictures, and I want to go back and work some stock photos out, which I feel increases the quality of my product. So that's on my to-do list still. And while we're talking about social posts, the quality of that social post is paramount. A lot of people are going to discover you through social media. People will share posts, which is only going to bring more eyes to you. So you want to make sure it's a great image. It's captivating. The copy's written well. There's a call to action. Your listener base will grow. And one last thing, if you have guests on your show, put a media pack together that's short, sweet, but suggestive. The shows I'm involved in, the morning that show drops, the guest receives an email with all the images we used to promote the show, a link to the show on that website, and the embed code. And we actually had a guest embed his episode on his network, and his network was 10 times the size of ours. And our web traffic spiked that day, our downloads spiked that day, and we gained quite a few new subscribers to our show because of that. I did everything I could to make it easy for him to share. That's the other thing. Just don't put everything in a zipped folder and here you go. I attach images. I put links and embed code in the body of the email, so it's a quick copy paste. If I could make it any easier, I would. If you ask or suggest somebody to help you out, make it as easy on them as possible. Quality of product. Evaluate your product, identify areas that you can strengthen, put a plan in place, a person in place, strive every week to produce a piece of content that is a little higher quality than the last. And next week, do the same thing. If there's any questions, you can hit me up on Twitter or Facebook. I'm at I'd Podcast That. And again, I appreciate you guys listening to the show. I hope you're gaining value from this. And come on over, shoot me an email, hit that contact form on the website. I want to help you guys produce better content, and I'm doing my best to cover things in an organized manner for you. I know sometimes people have questions about things I might not have covered yet. Shoot me a note, hit me on Twitter. Would love to engage with all of you. Until next time, talk soon.